and your partner. My Bank does that. Open yours today in less than 5 minutes on the banking app at your nearest ABSA branch or consult your private banker or call 0860 111 515. ABSA is an authorized FSP and a registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
I like to sell it, but want a good price for it. Where can I sell it? I'd like to sell it. I'd like to sell it. I'd like
Whoa. You want to sell your car?
Yes.
Okay.
Why do you ask?
Well, because we'd like to buy it. 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 You want to sell it? We want to buy it. We buy cars. The best way to sell your car by far.
Manchester United are only interested in maximum points to keep their fans delighted.
Fernandez, a captain's goal.
However, Luton Town FC are not willing to travel back to Kenilworth Road without the valuable 3 points.
Give it to Tahitong. Listen to that noise.
Will the Red Devils seal victory at Old Trafford, or will the Hatters prevail away from home? This is the Premier League. Catch the thrilling encounter between Manchester United and Luton Town FC. The Saturday, 11 November at 4 p.m. Live on S3. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
It's a beautiful time to be South African right now. There's so much going on. The cricket boys, the hockey girls. There's just a lot going on at the moment. We had Zakes at the beginning of the year. And of course, now we have a young South African, Uthuli Mkhize, who is going to make history as Disney celebrates 100 years of timeless stories and characters in Paris this coming weekend. Uthuli is the only South African who will be performing amongst, get this, 1,000 artists on stage on both nights. How are you doing, Thuli?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I cannot complain at all. Firstly, congratulations on this particular one. I think, so many thespians want to be part of this legacy, this franchise of Lion King. It's not an easy thing to become a part of.
Yes, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Even myself, I still pinch myself like, is this really me? A South African who comes from a very small town, it's still, I'm still in shock. But yeah, I'm very excited with the opportunity that they gave me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
No, I'm sure it's going to be incredible. Let's rewind back a little bit and just find out more about your journey. So you come from Durban, right?
Yes, Umlazi, Durban.
Yeah, Umlazi, Durban. And then when and how did you, get into the world of theater?
Well, basically, I started back of course, back in high school when you sing in choirs and you hear about these auditions and then you go audition. I hear there's South African auditions and then I go audition, and I started attending KCAP, Kwamashu Community Arts, and from then I hear normally Ubabu Domande will post the auditions for the Lion King every year. Mm-hmm. Disney comes to South Africa to do auditions, So I saw he normally posts if they're gonna come for the auditions, and then we go, and then you have callbacks, and then you go for callbacks, and then for the third time for the last callbacks, Disney's there. So basically you just have to wait, and then there's actually like Lion King all over the world. There's Lion King Germany, there's Lion King Netherlands, and there was Lion King Netherlands because that's where I started basically.
Okay.
In the Lion King Netherlands. So there's Lion King Spain, there's Lion King Germany, there's Lion King Broadway, American tour, UK, London. So basically you audition and then you wait, depending on the character that you're auditioning for. So there's Rafiki, there's Shanzi, there's Banzai, there's Mufasa, there's Sarabi, there's just like everybody knows Lion King.
Yeah.
So depending what your voice type or what what you feel you fit for, then if there's spaces anywhere in the world, then they can tell you you have to go to this country. Or if there's spaces in Germany, you go to Germany. If there's spaces in Spain, you go to Spain. Depending which country needs somebody at that time, or whatever you fit for. So that's how I got to do the Lion King.
I mean,
I just simply went for auditions.
it sounds like, it sounds like a grueling audition, though. The fact that there are, multiple stages to it, and then the periods of having to wait. And I'm sure, it's not just 10 people that are auditioning at any given stage. It's probably in the hundreds of talented
Oh my
artists.
God. Yes, there's quite a lot. When you get there, sometimes you just lose hope, like, oh my God. And most of the time you see people that you know and that are just big in the industry,
Yeah.
especially on the final auditions, you stand there and you're like, I'm not gonna make it. Somewhere somehow you feel like, oh no, 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 no. I can't stand here with somebody who sings so much better than me. But basically you'll never know, and mostly it's a voice type, or sometimes it's not what they're looking for. They're just looking for a specific person and a certain voice type. I mean, we sing City Ngonyama. That's it's South African music, They want people who just brings out South African music. Let me put it that way, So it's scary when you go there. It is, because there's a lot of people, and sometimes you stand there. As young as I was back in 2019, I just felt like I'm not gonna make it here, but I just had to go.
Yeah.
I just had to keep going and going and going, because it was just something that was in me, that I really want to be a part of this. One day I want to go, but there's hundreds and thousands of people.
Yeah.
First audition. That's why Ubabu Dumanzovu has to do certain steps, so that when Disney comes, there's at least 200 pay, because they go to Cape Town, they go to Durban, and then they go to Johannesburg, So they have to, at least until there's top 10, top 10, top 10.
Yeah. And the other thing I'm gathering is, from what you're saying, because it seems as though at every recasting, there's specifics that are being cast for at any given time in any reiteration of the play. So just because you were in Lion King in the Netherlands didn't necessarily mean that you were going to be automatically cast for Lion King in Paris.
It doesn't work like that normally, but depending on your work, sometimes we get here, more especially South Africans, because each and every Lion King, at least there has to be 8 South Africans,
I see.
because normally it's South African music and that country language, So it doesn't necessarily mean just because I was in Netherlands, I'm gonna definitely go to Paris. If my I'm not doing well, or maybe I can't do 8 shows a week, or I have voice issues, then I'm gonna have to be sent home. Or maybe I don't go to work more often.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to be sent home. It's like being blacklisted, But if I'm doing well, I'm working, and I work well, and I keep up with the good work. Sometimes you go home when the contract ends, and then you have to start, maybe not start all over again, but you have to go and re-audition again, just so that they can hear if you can still sing, because vocal cords, it's a muscle. So somehow you get tired, and you end up, you can't do the things that you used to do,
Absolutely.
before. So sometimes they need to hear you again, that can you still do the same thing that you used to do, or are you still fit enough to do 8 shows a week, or 7 shows, or 9 shows a week, depending which company you go to.
Yeah, it is Tuli Mkhize who's joining us on the line, and she is playing the role of Rafiki in Lion King, opening in Paris this coming weekend. And of course, this is one of the main acts of the show, and she's starring alongside one of Disney's most famous, Debbie Davis, who recorded the French version of the 1994 song. And it's going to be quite an opening night, I'm sure. From what I know, you're going to be opening with The Circle of Life alongside Debbie Davis?
Sorry? Can you please repeat that
From
again?
what I know, you're going to be opening the show with the Circle of Life alongside Debbie Davis.
Yes, yes, along with David Davis and Debbie Davis, and she's the original record. She recorded the original Circle of Life in 1994 for the French version. Yes, so she now lives in the America. She's well known and she's a big artist.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm opening. I'm going to be opening for her, like saying the calls, dancing, going yeah, sitting with her. She's gonna start doing the French parts. But yes, I'm opening along with her.
What a fantastic journey. And I mean,
Ye-
Tuli, we speak about, The Lion King and you being reprised as Rafiki, but you're no stranger to big theater and big stage productions. In fact, you were cast in Dr. Bongeni Ngema's Broadway's Sarafina. Did you do the international runs as well, the Broadway runs?
No, I didn't. I started, I think, 20. Can't remember. It's really been a long time. But I didn't travel with them. I
Okay.
didn't. It wasn't the South African in the States theater. Yes, I did not do the traveling and the international traveling. I
Yeah.
wasn't a part of that cast.
But I mean, still a huge production by way of theatre, and of course the place that it holds in South African, South African theatre pages, being part of Serafina on its own, even locally, still a big nod for the talent that you are.
Yes, it was. It was a dream come true, basically. I mean, they had come to audition also in Durban, and I was just coming from the nursing school, basically. And then I saw there was auditions there, and then I was like, should I go and audition? Maybe let me go try. I tried it out, and then the next thing I got the call backs, and then the next thing I was asked to come to Johannesburg. Everything happened so fast, but it was a dream. Basically, that's my biggest. It's my biggest start. That's where I started. As somebody who just went to nursing school. I didn't know anything with theater at that time, and I was still a little bit confused. I was still a little bit young. First time I traveled to Johannesburg was for the Sarafina.
Tuli, congratulations on a job well done, and we wish you the very best of luck for your opening weekend in Paris. That was thespian Tuli Mkhize, who's going to be playing Rafiki in The Lion King in Paris this year, celebrating 100 years of The Lion King. And of course, she's going to be opening with Circle of Life alongside international thespian Debbie Davis, who recorded the French version of the song back in 1994. Really, Rafiki being one of the central roles in The Lion King. So a job well done there. It is 1:30. It's time for us to get into the headline news. And I think Luyanda is standing by with that.
Indeed, thank you, Bridget. In your headlines, the bail application of two people accused of being behind the burglary at President Cyril Ramaphosa's Palapala farm in Limpopo is underway in the Bela Magistrates Court. Namibian nationals Emanuela David and Froliana Joseph are making their second court appearance. Higher Education Minister Dr. Blade Nzimande has called on the Tuja Capital CEO, Professor Mthunzi Mdwaba, to immediately apologize for the allegations made against him. Mdwaba accused Nzimande and other cabinet ministers, as well as ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula, of approaching him through intermediaries to solicit a bribe relating to the UIF deal. And the former American astronaut Frank Borman has died at the age of 95. He commanded the first manned mission to circle the moon and later piloted Eastern Airlines as chairperson in severe economic turbulence. I'll have details on these and other stories at 2.
You are listening to The Full Circle.
It is the full circle with myself, Bridget Masinga on SAFM. All right, back in August, in fact, back in August, we flighted this incredible documentary, just making sure that the story is seen by a wider audience of fans and those who loved and admired that Joseph Shabalala. It is the story of Bab Joseph Shabalala and the very legendary group that he founded, Ladysmith Black Mambazo. They've been selected as the entry for South Africa in the Oscars 2024. And we've got joining me now the director of the documentary, Bumi Super Mbele. How are you doing this afternoon, Bumi?
I'm good, Bridget. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Music is my life. What an incredible story to be telling. The story of Ubab Joseph Shabalala.
Yeah, no, it's been an amazing journey. What a man. What an inspiring story. Even I, the person that was making it, it's been such an inspirational story. And yeah, it's been, 6 years of development, production, and finally getting to the stage where we are now.
Take us back to the beginning stages of those 6 years. My apologies, I can't recall now as to when was Bob Joseph's passing, but I guess the question is, was he part of the ideation of the documentary?
Yeah, no, I was partially blessed to meet him before he started getting sick. So I got an opportunity to spend quite a lot of time with him. I mean, before he started being really, really sick, where he couldn't even be able to talk. So I pitched the idea to Mam Shabalala, and Sbongsen, which is the sons that are running Mambazo, and they were partially reluctant at the beginning because they were like, listen, we hold very dear to Baba in our story, and unfortunately, we've had people coming knocking at the doors and then just messing the whole thing up, So I partially had to develop trust. I mean, drive all the way from Greenside to Ladysmith weekly to meet up with them. And trust was developed with Imam Shabalala. And then that's when they started opening up.
Yeah.
And I was not the only one. I think there were like 4 American companies that were approaching them about the story, like really big production houses that I even dreamt of working with.
Wow.
So, but eventually they gave me the rights, and then myself and Caroline, who's the producer, we started developing the story. We started cooking it,
So then let me ask you this. What was it, what was it about yourself and your co-executive producer that you think afforded you the privilege of that? You talk about developing trust, but how did you guys go about that?
Well, for me, it was just like honesty. I didn't create a facade to Mam Shabalala. I just said I was just myself, And I think the first thing that was like very hilarious, drove down there. I think I left Joburg at like 12, arrived at Ladysmith. I was driving like a maniac because they'd given me the address, got there, and I was like talking to her, standing, and she was calm, and she was like, and I sat, and I was like sitting down for like 6 hours, and it was like 8 o'clock, and she was like, look, you can sleep here, we can talk tomorrow. And they gave me that slow pace kind of a thing, I'm a Joburger from Soweto, so my mind is always working fast, fast motion, and they just like slow things down. And I guess it was just the honesty. And Ubab Shabalala was such a spiritual person. I get a sense that he could see where we were going with it.
Absolutely. This is the first time that a documentary is actually selected for submission since South Africa began submitting films for nomination or consideration for the annual Academy Awards. Tell us a bit in terms of just, I guess, the treatment or the sort of story that the documentary tells, because no two stories are alike, obviously, and there's always a unique perspective when telling the life and story of especially an iconic man like Ubab Joseph Shabalala.
Yeah, for me, the treatment just grew and grew and grew, to be honest. The final product is probably treatment number 20 or something, you know. Once I started engaging with Ubaba, I had my own treatment. I went there with a clear indication of what I wanted to do. You know, from advertising and directing TV commercials, you know. So my thing was just, I just wanted to reflect a very positive, strong black man. You know, I felt we were just not seeing quite a lot of those images, you know, more especially from South African landscape. And I just wanted to reflect that. I just wanted to tell a story of a beautiful journey of a black man. And when I started researching, then there was the legacy part, you know, like looking at this man that has built a legacy that very few black families have built. You know, he built a legacy that is just not him, it's his kids, it's his grandkids, and you know, they're engineers, but like they sing Stratamia, which is like really crazy, you know. So I started researching that, and when the family started opening up, I just got a different side, you know, very warm, and I mean, I'm not selling the story here, it's just the truth. Very warm family, very loving. And then I discovered the love that Bab Shabalala had, you know. I mean, it's also another story that unfortunately couldn't dominate the documentary that much, but just the love that he had with Umam Shabalala became like a bit of a rom-com, you know, spending time with them. I mean, I drove with them from Ladysmith to a drunken speck when Bab Shabalala couldn't talk anymore, and they were just singing to each other, you know, like an hour drive of them just singing to each other. And then I discovered the relationship that Abu Sbong hold dear to Umam Shabalala, who's not their biological mother, you know, and just the respect that they have. So my thing was more like telling the legendary achievements of Ubab Shabalala when I started with the film. But then when I started spending time with him, I then researched, I discovered this spiritual journey as well that I never knew between being a Christian and also fairly strongly believing in Amadlozi, you know, and realizing that that lineage comes from his mother, who was like a very strong person spiritually, and then Baba Gabab Shabalala Katein, and he had already kind of like built this life in his head of what Bab Shabalala would be. That's why he gave him the name Upegi Zizwe, which means the one that's going to go and see the world, you know. And I was like, what? And then when I started interviewing Bab Shabalala's sister, they were telling me stories of how they will see an aeroplane in the farm in Ladysmith. I mean, this is like gazillion years, you know. And Bab Shabalala would say, one day my son is going to be on that. And that's why we named him, you know. And so that part I never even knew. And when I started talking to Abu Sbong and at the time him when he was talking, I realized, and he will say as well, that the gift doesn't come from him, it comes from Amatonga. And I'll be like, Amatonga, I'll be like, no, others will call them angels, others will call them Amadlozi. So
Yes.
he didn't allow, apparently, Bab Shabalala. Like, you wake up like at 2 a.m. and start writing. So wherever he'd be sleeping, music will be in his head, and he never believed that it was him. He always felt that there's this other universe or dimension or spiritual realm that gave him this talent. So then that's where I was like, oh, wow, okay, I never even thought of that, you know? And so I had to, I mean, if you watch the film, there's quite a lot of tracking shots, drone shots of the empty landscapes of Drankensberg, which is it's the spiritual side of Intabazo Kashamba. You know, when you trace it back, that's where his family were kicked out, the way their land was taken by the white people when they came to colonize that side of the world.
Mpumi,
you know?
let's hold it there for a second. Let me just take a quick break, and then we'll come back on the other side of this. It's just gone 2 o'clock.
Experience a spectacular visual feast.
From Prela to Picasso, Pokela to Pemba.
More than 500 works.
Kolowane, Kandinsky, Kenrich and Clark.
Exploring the diversity and looking to the future.
Visit Breaking Down the Walls, 150 years of art collecting at the Iziko South African National Gallery in the Company's Garden, Cape Town. Open Monday to Sunday from 9 to 5. iziko.org.za.
Manchester United are only interested in maximum points to keep their fans delighted.
Fernandes, a captain's goal.
However, Luton Town FC are not willing to travel back to Kenilworth Road without the valuable 3 points.
If it's a Tahitom, listen to that noise.
Will the Red Devils seal victory at Old Trafford, or will the Hatters prevail away from home? This is the Premier League. Catch the thrilling encounter between Manchester United and Luton Town FC. The Saturday, 11 November at 4 p.m. Live on S3. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Living your best life on the Full Circle.
It is the Friday edition of the Full Circle here on SAFM, and as you know, on Fridays we take things nice and slow and focus on all things arts and culture. And today we are in conversation with Soweto-born director Mpumi Supambele, who is the director behind the documentary on the life of Ubab Joseph Shabalala, alongside his very legendary group Ladysmith Black Mambazo. It's titled "Music Is My Life," and it makes the first documentary submission to be considered for the annual Academy Awards by South Africa. It is going in for submission, and as we heard from Mpumi, it's been 6 years in the making, and it traces the path of Ubab Joseph Shabalala's humble beginnings in a rural KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa until his final days in 2020. And I can imagine, Mpumi, firstly, let me ask you this, because how much time did you spend with Ubab Joseph and the Shabalala family? I can imagine if you wanting to get into the intimacy of a documentary, there needs to be some significant time that's spent with your subject.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's like what I was saying earlier on. They just became family. I mean, Umam Shabalala till to this day, she's like my other mother. You know, I got the privilege of really spending time with them, and they just opened the door. Umam Shabalala once, started developing it fully. So I spent quite a lot of time with them. Even, I think, Ubab Shabalala, when he closed his eyes, we were at the hospital, myself and the producer and Umam Shabalala. Literally, that's how crazy it was. When he passed away in Pretoria, Umam Shabalala called us, and we had to go there. And I mean, it's some parts of the story that I never wanted to share with the world, because like, you're very intimate, But fully there with them.
And also on that, as we wrap it up on that, I can also imagine that when you tell a story around a legend like Ubab Joseph Shabalala and the legendary band that he started, Ladysmith Black Mambazo, that there is a sensitivity there and an awareness there, but also probably heightened and coupled by the fact that the project already started later on in his life, when his health was already frailing, and knowing that the story will ultimately have to at some point conclude much like in the way that it concluded with his departure. I
mean, that was a very sad and a very emotional part of it, because in the 5 years of literally in development, pre-production, production, you could see his health deteriorating as we're like making the film, But I mean, what a man! He archived almost his entire life. I mean, there's audio, there's something like 6,000 or 8,000 audio tapes of recordings of him just recording himself daily. And that's how we got to manage to let him narrate the story, because I got an access of an audio tape where he was talking about the development of Ladysmith Black Mambazo and who he is, and that's how I got the opportunity to let him narrate his own story.
Wow.
So, look, he was such a visionary, unbelievable, actually uncomprehendable, because I know we got to wrap this up. So when I was just about to finish up the story, Umam Shabalala calls me and saying, Pumele, you have to drive to Ladysmith. She opens this room. It's tapes, Bridget. It's tapes, it's papers, it's like handbooks, it's toilet papers where it's written, it's like cloths. I'm like, mama. And she's like, no, like you figure it out. And then I found out that it's lyrics that Bakshabalala would write, and it's audio tapes that he was recording, like 8,000 audio tapes. I mean, I couldn't even finish some of them because we were very close to finishing the project. So I listened to almost like 6,000 to like 3,000 audio tapes.
I have to leave it there for this afternoon, but it definitely sounds like an incredible project, and hopefully we'll get the opportunity to see it on our screens once again. That was Mpumi Mbele, and he is the director of Music Is My Life, a documentary around the life and times of Bab Joseph Shabalala in Ladysmith Black Mambazo.
Come closer. Over here. Man, oh man, do I have something to tell you. Huh? You know what would happen if you weren't here? No SABC Sport, no Lesilo, no Isidingo, no Jam Ali, no Fat Cook Ballets, no family meetings, no radio, no nothing. Just dololo silence, huh? But you, my friend, you make it happen, because you pay your home and business TV license. Now we can Expresso, Skim Sam, Mubango, Hectic 99, and Live Amp Kuse Kuse, Chovicho. So please keep on keeping on and doing the right thing, so we can make new memories and tell stories for the now generation. SABC TV licenses. Pay yours. Make a difference.
Feel safe this holiday season. Secure your home with Trelidor. Call 0861 Trelidor now and get a quote within 24 hours. Our security experts are on standby at over 50 franchises across South Africa. So call today or visit trelidor.co.za. Trelidor, the ultimate crime barrier.
Borussia Mönchengladbach knows that only a win will make their plan to get to the top half a success. But VfL Wolfsburg's game plan is to grab victory away from home to cement their top half position. This is the Bundesliga, football as it's meant to be. Catch the exciting clash between Borussia Mönchengladbach and VfL Wolfsburg this Friday, 10 November at 9:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on TTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
I started my own YouTube channel 2 days after because I just could not wait. Also, remember how I spoke about YouTubers Sam Collin and Benson earlier? They cracked open my world. But they were white and American. They couldn't really tell me how to go about transitioning in South Africa. And I wondered how much harder it would be for a boy in a relatively small town in KwaZulu-Natal. At the time, there weren't many black South African trans YouTubers out there. Information about going on testosterone in South Africa was very hard to come by. And trust me, I googled hard. There was no one out there making this info easy to access. So it just seemed right for me to step up and be that YouTuber for others as I transitioned.
When I was a kid, like my cousins and friends used to play house. If you do not know what house is, it's where you and your friends play a family, where there's a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister, and a little baby.
I posted my first video on the 17th of August 2017, and it was my How I Knew story.
I remember that I always used to play the male figure. I'd always want to be the brother or the dad or the time. I'd use a stick, put it down my pants and use it for the fangs.
So once I started on testosterone, I posted videos about my transition.
The things I've noticed is that I have hair on my legs, my thighs, my arms, right here, and on my face as well. I have little chin hairs. Another thing is my scent, my body odor. It's so strong that at times I have to shower twice a day because it's that strong, and I'm just wow. And at times my body's just my babes, I'm okay, so it's time. My voice as well, at times it's high pitched, at times it's deep, so I do not know what's happening. It's annoying, it's very annoying.
One of my most popular videos was a step-by-step guide on how to transition in South Africa.
Next step. Okay, next step is you go see a psychologist that is LGBTI friendly, and they are educated about these things and they are aware and they know Uti.
Yo, making those videos, I had a lot of emotions. Fear, excitement, sadness. You may wonder why I felt sad. I mean, coming out on YouTube was a big move. Everyone would find out. And I knew they wouldn't all accept me. I would lose a lot of people. Yazi, you'd think the worst would come from haters in the comment section. But the strangers I spoke to on my channel were mostly supportive. It was the people I knew who said the worst things. I get DM'd by friends or family who watch the videos. They'd ask me to explain myself. I even got called a freak at some point. But I kept posting. I was on a mission to become the real me, to see the real me in my videos.
Thank you for watching, guys. And again, please do subscribe, please do share, guys. Share. Literally just share. Especially on Facebook, all you have to do is click. And it's share now, and you're yes, babes, that is it. But I understand if you have family who is what is this? Okay, I understand. Then please share on your WhatsApp, because I'm pretty sure you blocked the family. So please do that.
My videos are a kind of mirror for me. I re-watch them from time to time because I like to see how far I've come in my transition. But sometimes I look at myself and I think, I'm not man enough. And it bothers me. It affects my mental health. Honestly, the thing that bothers me the most is that I cannot have a family, naturally. I won't be able to impregnate the future mother of my kids. These aren't thoughts I like to share on my YouTube channel much. I don't want to seem ungrateful, I guess. I just don't want to be seen as someone who isn't fulfilled. I mean, I use he, him pronouns, I pass. What have I got to complain about, right? But yeah, everything about being trans feels so medical sometimes. I mean, I have to keep taking injections of testosterone, and then there's top surgery and bottom surgery. Some days, it sucks. Kodwa, I keep turning on that camera because I know my channel is helping a lot of people out there.
Friends, and welcome to another exciting episode of Nali Bali. Human beings are different, and that is what makes us unique and beautiful. It's okay that someone might not have the same features that you have, or you may have features that nobody else has. That should not encourage bullying amongst us as children, but rather we accept each other the way we are. Let's listen to today's story called Ketty with the Flying Chicken, written by Rujeko Moyo. But before we listen to today's story, let's all get up and dance. A mother hen gazed proudly at her 6 chicks. The chicks were 4 days old. They were fluffy and yellow. They ate the small soft grains that their mother showed them to eat and cheeped as they scratched into the dirt. They also stayed close to their mother. All the chicks did except one. Ketiwe, the big brown striped chick, did things differently. Ketiwe ate barks instead of grain, and she went exploring far, far away from the other chicks. As the chicks grew older, the differences between them grew more noticeable. The feathers of 5 of the chicks turned white, but Ketiwe's feathers turned grey. While the white chicks marched around the chicken yard, scratching and digging for the grain that they ate, Ketiwe marched far and wide. She flew into trees and even on rooftops and ate all the bugs she found. But most of all, Ketiwe squawked all the time. And while her loud squawks warned her brothers and sisters of danger, the chicks were irritated by the loud noise.
Please be quiet.
They clucked.
Come down from the barn roof.
They chipped. Ketiwe wondered why she was so different from all the other chicks. But even though she tried, she could not stop squawking or flying onto the roof or eating bugs. One morning, Ketiwe flew further out of the farmyard than she had ever before. She flew into a tree and enjoyed a meal of beetles she found underneath the tree bark. Suddenly, she heard a surprisingly familiar squawk. And another. And another. From up in the tree, she could see a flock of birds that looked just like her. They had grey feathers just like she did. And they squawked loudly just like she did. Ketiwe was very happy to find creatures that looked and sounded just like her. But what were these creatures? She rushed over to meet them. Guinea fowls. That's what they were. And that's what she was. Ketiwe finally knew why she was so different from her brothers and sisters. She was a guinea fowl. Ketiwe rushed home to her mother, excited to tell her the news.
Do you want to go and live with the other guinea fowls?
Asked Mother Hen softly. Ketiwe thought about it for a while. Even though she was not like her mom or her brothers and sisters, she still loved them very much. And even though they did not like her squawking, she knew that they loved her.
Can I play with them during the day and come home to roost at night?
Asked Ketiwe.
Of course you can, my Ketiwe.
Mother Hen beamed, and that's what Ketiwe did. And so we come to the end of another Nalibali story time. Today's story was called Ketiwe the Flying Chicken, written by Rucheko Moyo. Did you know that reading and telling stories to children at home can help them do better at school? If you want free stories to read to your children or for your children to enjoy on their own, visit Nalibali website www.nalibali.org or Mobi site www.nalibali.mobi. You will find stories in 11 South African languages, as well as tips for reading and sharing stories with your children to grow their potential. Also look out for the bilingual Nalibali Reading for Enjoyment supplements with great children's stories and activities available in newspapers. Nalibali, it starts with a story.
Independent and impartial. This is SAFM News.
In your top stories at 2, the Phalaphala theft suspects back in court and Zimande response to the UIF deal bribery allegations. This is SAFM News. A very good afternoon. I am Luyanda Maume. The bail application of 2 people accused of being behind the burglary at President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phalaphala farm in Limpopo is underway in the Bilabila Magistrates Court. Namibian nationals Emanuela David and Froliana Joseph are making their second court appearance. The third person, David Joseph, is however making his first appearance. He is the brother of Joseph. Boni Mahupa reports.
There is a large media contingency in court. The court has heard that David Joseph handed himself to the police yesterday. He is the brother of one of the other accused, Floriana. The state has indicated that it will not be opposing bail for Floriana, who has a newborn baby who solely depends on breastfeeding. The three face charges of housebreaking, theft and money laundering. They allegedly stole $580 from President Ramaphosa's farm. Boni Mahopa, SABC News, Polokwane.
Higher Education Minister Dr. Blade Nzimande has called on the Tuja Capital CEO, Professor Mthunzi Mdwaba, to immediately apologize for the allegations made against him. Mdwaba has accused Nzimande and other cabinet ministers, as well as the ANC Secretary General Fikile Mbalula, of approaching him through intermediaries to solicit a bribe relating to the UIF deal. Mbalula laid charges against Mdwaba at the Sandton police station in Johannesburg yesterday, following allegations that he solicited 500 million rand bribe from him. Nzimande's spokesperson is Ishmael Mnisi.
The minister values his reputation and integrity greatly and refuses to allow these defamatory statements to go unaddressed any longer. The false statements include but are not limited to bribery allegations by someone who is allegedly acting as his agent, who allegedly solicited money from Mr. Mthunzi Mdwaba. Minister Nzimande has neither personally nor delegated anyone to approach Mr. Mthunzi Mdwaba in a bid to secure gateway fees of 500 million from a 500 billion UIF deal. As a result, Minister Nzimande will serve a cease and desist letter for defamation to Mr. Mthunzi Mdwaba.
Professor Diretladi says one of the matters he will be dealing with as a judge at the International Court of Justice is the situation in Palestine. The UN Security Council and the General Assembly elected him to be a judge of the court. The ICJ, which sits in The Hague, comprises 15 judges elected to 9-year terms. It settles disputes between states in accordance with international law and gives us advisory opinions on international legal issues. Judge Tladi is the first South African judge to serve at the ICJ.
Some of the things that are currently on the docket of the ICJ, the Russia-Ukraine war is on the docket. The first hearing that I will have an opportunity to sit on is actually the situation in Palestine. So all of these are really big issues, and these are just two examples. Another example of something that'll be on the hearing schedule of the court soon will be an advisory opinion on obligations of states relating to climate change. So yeah, I mean, really big stuff, really important stuff.
The parole hearing of the former Northern Cape ANC chairperson John Block is underway. He insists that he qualifies for parole if presidential remissions are taken into account. Block took the Correctional Services Department to court over how it handled his application for remission of sentence in his corruption case. Last week, the Northern Cape High Court instructed the parole board to adhere to an order it handed down in September, requesting it to address Block's application. Karabo Siyogo reports.
John Block was jailed in 2018 for corruption linked to office leases for government departments at inflated prices. Earlier this year, he was also charged with alleged tender fraud related to the construction of the Kimberley Mental Hospital, built at the cost of over 2 billion rand. In another matter, Block and his legal team face a defamation lawsuit of 7.5 million rands. Correctional Services has until the end of business today to file affidavits on the parole matter. Karabo Siyogo, SABC News, Kimberley.
And finally, the former American astronaut Frank Borman has died at the age of 95. He commanded the first manned mission to circle the moon and later piloted Eastern Airline as chairperson in severe economic turbulence. The one-time U.S. test pilot made history in 1968 when he commanded the Apollo 8 mission, which gave the three-man crew the first ever sight of the moon. Recapping your top story, the bail application of two people accused of being behind the burglary at President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phalaphala farm in Limpopo is underway in the Bela Magistrates Court. For SAFM News, I am Luyanda Maume. Headlines at 2:30.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 106.2 FM in Tohoyandou.
Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
something I learned long ago. Down where the wild waters flow, something people do to set their spirit free. In the morning time, in the afternoon, in the cool evening breeze, like bandy bandy, wave your body, like bandy bandy, like bandy bandy, wave your body, like bandy bandy. In a time of day, where in a place, where if you're feeling down.
are such a multi-generational team from millennials. I think there's even a baby boomer in this particular team, to Gen, what they call themselves, Gen Z. And so when the Gen Zs get taught new music and their heads start bobbing, it's a beautiful thing. It's a lovely, when they know that, music expands beyond just the pop culture artists that they know. And I think there's just something lovely also when the likes of Zap Mama team up with Erykah Badu, bringing us a pop culture iconic song. This one definitely will go down as one of those songs. If there was ever a list of the top 100 songs to represent a particular generation, I wonder if there is one. This one definitely is one of those. It's just gone 2:10 on the full circle with myself, Bridget Masinga. We're in the second and final hour of the show. Still to come, at 2:30, he's going to be in the building. We're going to be talking to creative consultant, philanthropist, and business entrepreneur Masejo, aka Maps Maponyane. He is going to be joining me in studio. But for now, though, we're looking at trying to decipher and understand consumer psychology during the festive season in South Africa. Shaheen Khan joins me on the line, who is a senior lecturer, commerce and management. And the year is drawing to a close and the festive season is upon us, which means that it is a pivotal time for both South African businesses as well as consumers. And I asked you a little bit earlier on, do you have a budget for the festive season? It's November the 10th. We are creeping up on that silly season. And do you have a household budget for yourself? And do you stick to it? Or are you one of those people who throws all reason out the window when it comes to the festive season and you deploy their thinking, God will provide? And you go absolutely mad, shopping and living your best life. How are you doing, Shaheen?
Good afternoon, Bridget, to you and the listeners. I'm fine. How are you?
We are fantastic. Thank you. Before we get to the serious stuff, I definitely think, by and large, for most South Africans, at least if social media is anything to go by, there's a certain insanity that takes over during the festive season. And honestly, we engage the thinking that God will provide, and we just go silly the whole of December.
That's an excellent point that you raised. So just to contextualize that, some of the research indicates that due to the financial constraints, especially this year with the multiple interest rate hikes that South Africans have faced, tough financial hardships, the festive season and Black Friday in particular is used by South Africans not necessarily for luxury purchases. So people actually kind of determine what they want to purchase months in advance. So this is what the research is showing.
Oh, so we do deploy some kind of reasoning in our thinking.
Definitely.
Oh, I'm pleasantly surprised, Shaheen. Is this something that we've always done, or is this something that we've sort of educated ourselves on in recent years?
Well, it's definitely been a trend. So there's a marketing research institute, Wonga, and they've been tracking South African purchasing behavior for Black Friday in particular and the festive season for the last 5 years. And in the last 3 years, in particular, after COVID, post-COVID, research indicates that those critical purchases, like you're looking to purchase a TV or a fridge, South African consumers decide this around January, February for Black Friday, November.
Okay. That means that we're not as bad as I thought we were. And tell me, how important is it then for businesses, especially those in retail and product sales? How important is it for them to actually be attuned to consumer psychology, particularly during these periods? And I'll just group it as festive season from now all the way through until January.
Sure. So to put it into context, despite the financial hardships, South Africans for this festive season are projected to spend over 200 billion. And some of the key factors that will revolve around food, travel, Christmas gifting, etc. So it's really important that business organizations understand the psychology around consumer behavior. And consumer behavior, it definitely changes during the festive season. People become more inclined towards emotional and impulsive purchases, or they start looking out for specific types of products or services. The shopping frequency increases more than usual. So understanding this would help the business to craft their marketing and sales strategies, and also to align it with what consumers are really expecting. Also, in South Africa, in our context, there's a lot of cultural and regional factors to take into consideration. So an organization that understands these nuances can resonate with the local population. And then there's the fact that we look at increased competition, for example, amongst businesses. I mean, we've seen a huge increase in advertising on social media, buy now, Black Friday deals, etc. So how does a business differentiate itself? So by understanding psychology, one of the aspects would be to form an emotional connection with the consumer during this period. So businesses that tap into emotions are proven to be more effective, and they build stronger connection with the consumer. The last part would be optimizing market strategy. So this would be, not all consumers, for example, would be on social media. So, you got to look at the different demographics. You were talking earlier about millennials. So millennials, for example, are more inclined towards trusting online advertising as, if you compare it to an older generation. So taking all of this into account, psychology really plays an important role here. In particular, by also offering personalization. So with digital marketing, for example, businesses can personalize their messages and their product and service offerings. So that helps differentiate themselves from the consumer. It also builds loyalty.
As you're talking, I wonder, Shaheen, how much time and I guess data collecting is then spent by South African businesses to better understand South African consumers in order for them to answer to the needs of their consumers?
That's an excellent question. So previously, this would have been really time consuming, but remember, we're in the fourth industrial revolution, everything's online. So organizations they do have access to this data. And there's various ways that organizations, they do this months in advance. So the first part would be conducting market research, understanding what are the current trends, preferences, and behaviors. And all of this can be done through using tools such as Google Analytics. A lot of businesses also offer their own surveys. What's really important, though, is to look at your own historical data. So organizations look at trends. For example, what happened in the last 3 years? What are the sales? Did it peak during this? Did a certain item catch consumers' interest, etc.? Also, what's important to remember is people are different. So a fundamental role of marketing is to segment the audience. You can't be everything to everybody. So by dividing the target audience into segments, tailoring strategies for each segment, leveraging analytical tools, things like website visits, online interactions, monitoring social media, especially social media engagement. Very critical sort of data point that's keeping up these days is customer feedback, especially online customer feedback. So those Google reviews, paying attention to that. And this can be done months in advance. And it's not so much about gathering the data that takes time. The time consumption takes place at analyzing, because with online, there's just a mountain of data that's available to business.
Absolutely. Let's take a quick pause here and then we'll come back and continue our conversation. I'm in conversation with Shaheen Khan, who's a senior lecturer, and we're looking at the consumer psychology during the festive season, particularly in South Africa. What are your spending patterns come this time of the year? Are you still spending within reason? Still keeping to the budget and the plans that you set out for yourself a couple of months back? Or do you just blow everything out of proportion and you live for the moment and you live for the day? 061-410-4107. That's our WhatsApp line if you'd like to send through a voice note.
Mzansi, we thank you for what you did yesterday, today, and what you will do tomorrow to meet your tax obligations. By submitting your income tax returns on time and keeping your personal and banking information up to date, you have made your tax matters daily matters. Our gratitude as SARS is immeasurable. We thank you for contributing to our country's prosperity. Visit sars.gov.za to keep your details updated. Your tax matters. SARS at your service.
The first leg of the final between the Red Devils and Masandawana is done and dusted, but there is still 90 minutes to decide who will be crowned the champions of Africa. The Casablanca outfit want to shut down Mzansi's capital city, but Kabuyelo believe their carpet football will humble their opponents. Witness the African Football League second leg final, Mamelodi Sundowns versus Wydad Athletic Club on Sunday, 12 November, live on SABC1 at 2:30 p.m. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
The award-winning SAFM playwriting competition is back.
I remember a time when my grandmother, she would make sure that she never missed that story.
SAFM invites all writers to explore the medium of sound.
I mean, I remember Pipito, she remember all of those. It's like, what is this?
Yeah.
And it was fiction.
The theater of the mind. And to create a 1-hour radio play in English, get writing now and submit your play before the 22nd of January 2024. For more information, visit safm.co.za. Arts, culture, and robust conversations with Bridget Masinga.
It is the Full Circle on SAFM leading the conversation. We are in the middle of a discussion with Shaheen Khan, who's helping us decipher consumer psychology, particularly during the festive season. But I guess also just broadly, how do South Africans spend? And let me ask you, actually, while we're on that point, Shaheen, how much of our consumer trends change during this time of the year in comparison to how we conduct ourselves or how we spend, for the rest of the year?
So that's an excellent question. So like I said, consumer behavior does change. And I think one of the first most important trigger would be emotional triggers. So we know that, for example, festive season is associated with catching up with family. So it's joy, nostalgia, generosity. So people lean more towards impulse purchases based on those sort of emotions. Another major sort of aspect to look at is social influencers. So in the context of social media, the amount of time every South African spends like 8 hours online on social media. So different social media platforms. So social interactions and gatherings become more important during festive seasons, and this has an impact. Hence, for this year, South Africans are projected to spend around 40% of their budget extra on food. And it's the gift-giving culture. So this is a significant aspect. And firms sort of tap into this by creating scarcity or urgency, start looking at limited time offers, exclusive deals, the fear of missing out, FOMO. There's also the cultural, religious significance as well. But most importantly, given this year, it's price sensitivity, that even though we have all of these emotions, consumers are definitely more price sensitive. In fact, just before this call, I was reading a research article that showed that a lot of South Africans are planning to purchase on what they regard as essential items. So organizations need to be aware of this. And we also need to have convenience. Digital engagement definitely plays a role in shaping consumer behavior.
Yeah.
So organizations would need to ensure that during this time period, they have a strong online presence. You also have to have mobile-friendly platforms and effective digital marketing strategies. And very importantly, it's to also use these digital technologies to personalize your messages in the context of the consumer, to encourage consumer engagement, get people talking about your product, price, or service. So to capture on that emotion and the buzz around this period.
Yeah. And I found it interesting that during this season, the average South African actually allocates an additional 6,000 Rand to the budget. Where are we finding this money?
So a lot of this happens with finance, so a lot of South Africans will be leading into their credit cards, but more importantly, the anticipation of 13 checks, bonuses. A lot of firms will be shutting down during this time period, so a lot of people will be receiving some sort of bonus or some sort of extra income. And this is why that term January comes about.
Yeah, no, listen, because January can be very long, especially if you close around about December 15, and you know your next paycheck only comes at the end of January. So if you've blown everything already on Black Friday and Cyber Monday and then Christmas and then just the miscellaneous spending, it's a very trying time for South Africans indeed. Just by way of a final thoughts and advice, what would you have us consider, particularly as consumers, as we head into the silly season?
So from a consumer point of view, it's definitely drop a budget and identify the critical items that you actually need. And also to be conscious of, or to plan ahead. It's always wise to plan ahead and to consider that in January, you're not going to have this sort of extra income. From a business point of view, some of the strategies, because, people have been cutting back on their spending. So from a business perspective, it's about reinforcing positivity, spreading positivity. So identifying positive belief systems and strengthening them. So looking at things like keywords, like such as amazing deals, Black Friday trips, playing on those emotions. Also coming up with new product offerings. So because people are generally cash-strapped, certain marketing strategies such as product bundling, for example, 2-for-1 deals, etc., becomes much more important in the economic sort of season that we're in at the moment.
Yeah.
The last part would be consumer engagement. Because of social media, organizations really need to monitor and sort of control the narrative that's occurring on their social media pages as well. Viral marketing always helps. So, coming up with adverts and brand engagement strategies that resonates with consumers.
Awesome. Shaheen, thank you for the time this afternoon. Let's jump quickly to a WhatsApp before Luyanda comes through with the headline news.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Sister Bridget. It's Fred the Trucker here in KZN. Sister Bridget, I hear a lot of people giving this excuse. You only live once, you only live once. No. You live every day. You live every day. So, save your money. Don't go all over the place on Fridays or on December time. You are Decembering all over the place, and the kids come January, then you are worrying all over the place. The kids don't have school uniform, school shoes. No. Let's be reasonable. It is tough out there. Save your money. Danko.
Thank you, Bridget. In your headlines, the city of Tshwane has announced that the strike, which lasted for over 3 months, is finally over. Services such as waste collection, electricity and water outages, including fixing leaks, which were severely impacted by the strike action, have gradually returned to normality. The Joseph siblings, Froliana and David, accused of being behind the February 2020 burglary at President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phalaphala farm, want to be released on bail. Through an affidavit, Froliana says that she's breastfeeding a minor child. And Australia and Tuvalu have signed an agreement offering refuge to citizens of the small nation due to the catastrophic impacts of climate change. Tuvalu, a series of low-lying atolls in the Pacific, is among the nations most at risk from rising seas. I'll have details on these and other stories at 3.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
John is so confused by all the hair.
I have
that
no
is-
idea what's going on there.
Yeah. You know, it's the preserve of being a black woman. One day it's long, it's straight, it's curly, it's kinky, it's, you know,
I've also learnt never.
one woman, many looks.
When women start talking about hair, man, just shh, go and watch sports.
But he started this conversation, by the way.
No, it was TikTok. I saw a thing on. It was on TikTok. It was like a thing. There was, I don't know. Amanda's got like there's like something on her
Baby
head.
hairs.
I don't know what they are, right? And she goes, yeah. But I saw a thing on TikTok that was about it, and it was like, "Hey girls, why do you do this?"
Yes.
And it's the first time I've seen it, like in real life. And I wanted to show her, but you can't find it again. No, I'm going to go watch sport again.
I can't with you. What's coming up?
Okay, right at the beginning of the show, it's 2 years since the Zondo Commission, right?
Yes.
2 years since those piles of books were given to the president, and he has now said that there are now government efforts to combat corruption, that a society-wide response is necessary. Right, so not a minute too soon. That's after the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council. We're going to ask a number of questions. One of those is, should whistleblowers be paid a percentage of the recovered funds?
Judge Zondo was speaking about it yesterday at that
Yes.
council brief, and a lot of people were opposed to it.
You see, that's what we will question. So some
Yeah.
people are against it, some people are for it. I know that there's a problem with protection of whistleblowers. We're
Yes.
seeing whistleblowers just the other day in Randburg. Witness was shot.
Yeah.
In
A lot of
broad
people have
daylight.
had to leave the country.
Yeah,
They're in hiding.
Whistleblowers are being so that's the first thing, but maybe those that recovered funds can help them start a new life away from all the dangers and all those kind of things as well.
Yeah.
Then groundwater in Fabong region in Limpopo is bad for human life. One of the sources of drinking water in Limpopo province. There's a likelihood of developing cancer, they say, if you drink that groundwater.
Seriously?
There's a massive scientific report of many pages, which it's
Yeah.
impossible to read. The short little paragraph says that if you drink it, you will get cancer. It's that simple. And so that's an ongoing story. Obviously, we have a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Just the other day, there was a city that said, don't drink our water. There's E. coli in our drinking
Yeah.
water in the taps. So, so that's terrible. And then our bonding session this evening. It's that time of the year almost where, you know, when you need somebody, you know, when you got friends,
Yeah.
you got great friends, and you're famous, and you've got your friends, and you go out for a couple of drinks and things, and you know, whenever. Then suddenly, you're in hard times. Where do those friends go?
I mean, they're still there on speed dial.
They're on speed.
Choose your friends wisely.
They're on your speed dial too, and you're on their speed dial. Where do those friends go? And it happens to famous people who
Yeah.
stop being famous.
Yes.
And we're going to talk to one of those famous people who've stopped being famous. She's still famous though, but we'll talk to her. Zanele Nyakale.
Yeah.
Or Nestram. She's
Okay.
going to be
Oh,
in
yes,
studio.
Nestram, yeah.
She's going to be in studio, so we'll be able to stream it on the internet.
But that's why I keep saying choose your friends wisely, because I think you can tell from your social setting. I mean, surely you can tell from your social setting if the friends you have around you are people that you can depend on, you can call on when there's hard times. And so if you can't, you can tell these things. You can tell.
See, my thing is you must never confuse your colleagues with friends.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Let's have a distinction, because there's also social friends that you go drink and you go hang
social
out
colleagues.
with and and then there are the friends, the
Real friends.
people you know.
Do you have real friends?
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
get
yeah.
into some hardship, you'll suddenly realize who your friends are. There's a helicopter outside.
But those people were never your friends.
They weren't your friends.
No,
but
they weren't.
This is what we're talking about, is where do those friends go? Those ones that you were socializing with and you would spend a couple of thousand when you're going out, you go on holiday with them, but suddenly you want to go on holiday but you got no cash. They're like, hey, sorry.
They were never your friends. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. They were never your friends.
So that's what we're talking about after 5. It's a bonding session. We're going to commiserate together about if we have friends or not.
Awesome. I will call in and remind you all still they were never your friends to begin with. Let's take a quick break here, and then Maps Maponyane is going to be in studio in just a matter of moments.
Hi, I'm Pomotso KG Mweketi, and I believe in music's ability to connect, to heal, to remind, and to bring joy. And each week on my Saturday and Sunday show Seasons right here on SAFM, I endeavor to do just that. So join the movement of Seasons every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's addictive. You might invite a friend. Seasons, only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide with me, KG Mweketi. Because where words fail, music speaks.
It's
It's about a little more than just an X on that ballot paper. It's about South Gov knowing what I want, where I'm going, and who I want to take with on this journey. To me, it's not just a vote. It's my democracy. I own it. So show up and register for what you stand for. From Giyani to Umlazi, Pitori to Matatiel. Bring your green barcoded ID, smart card or temporary ID certificate. Stations open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. 18 to 19 November 2023. Or register online by going to elections.org.za or call 0800 11 8000. It's your democracy. Own it. Brought to you by the IEC.
The Kosi Nation says, Ikosi alphela umoya, but the Bucks are confident that yonke indawo ibhakabhaka liyaphumelela. Who are the real kings of Soweto? Gold and black or black and white? Uhamba nobani, Amakhosi or Amabhakania? This is the DSTV Premiership, the Soweto Derby. Kaizer Chiefs versus Orlando Pirates on Saturday, 11 November at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365, Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za.
Coming up on the book reading, Simply Larry.
Swaziland is his home, and the people of Swaziland his family. It is normal for people to want to be laid to rest amongst their own. That is what he chose. It was therefore fitting that Larry's story be told in Africa by an African.
Catch the book reading on SAFM Monday to Thursday at 11:45 on the Talking Board.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation. The award-winning SAFM playwriting competition is back.
I remember a time when my grandmother, she would make sure that she never missed that story.
SAFM invites all writers to explore the medium of sound.
I mean, I remember Pipito, she remember all of those. It's like, what is this?
Yeah.
And it was fiction.
The theater of the mind. And to create a 1-hour radio play in English, get writing now and submit your play before the 22nd of January 2024. For more information, visit safm.co.za. Living your best life on the Full Circle.
It is the Full Circle in the final moments of the show. You know how we do on a Friday afternoon. It's about fun, friends, and fabulous conversations. And for full access today, we have somebody who needs no introduction to the younger members of the family. He is an entrepreneur. Let's lead with that one. He is a businessman. He is a philanthropist. He's also a creative consultant, a model. A man in his own right, but he also happens to share the same genes as the legendary soccer man, Maps Mapunyane is in studio. How are you doing?
I'm so good. I'm so good to finally get an invite to a show with Bridget Masinga.
It's been a minute. If you are streaming, you can see my producer is taking pictures. So you see the lady in pink in shot. Thank you for coming through.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's taken us a while.
It has taken us a while, considering how long we've known each other and how many amazing things you've done on various airwaves across the airwaves. It's wonderful to finally be on your show. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for gracing us. I appreciate it because I know you are very, very busy. He won't remember this. The first time I ever saw Maps, we were at the GQ Awards. It was the first year he was nominated. I happened to be working on a television magazine show.
How could I forget that? It's like, I met Bridget Masinga for the first time. How would I forget that?
Oh, whatever.
And I was there at the GQ Awards with my mom.
Yes.
Actually. And I remember being like, okay, and I've got my mom here, but I want to, go and say hi to this lovely woman and greet, but I need to stay cool because my mom's here, and it was a whole lot of things happening.
Always a charmer. I just remember being in conversation with this incredibly dressed young man with a sound head on his shoulder, and I turned around to my director Ben at the time, and he was directing All Access, and I was like, he needs to be on television, like.
Oh, wow.
At that time, you didn't know the story?
I didn't know the story.
I was like, he needs to be on television, particularly All Access. You always, like I said, you were young then. You were in school still, I think, final year of your varsity or something.
I was in final year varsity. Actually, no, second year varsity, yes.
Second year, but
yes.
You've always been solid, Masejo. Like, your head is very solid. Where does that come from?
It comes purely from my upbringing between both my mom and my dad. Very much about earning everything, being as kind as possible to people. Always emphasizing that it doesn't cost anything to be kind, and when people aren't kind to you, that's not your. That's not your problem. You still need to maintain who you are, and hopefully, that level of kindness shown to them can make them realize that, the world isn't out to get them, and not everything has to be so bitter or whatever it might be, and that you need to always maintain that. And I think I saw a lot of that from the generosity of my father. I remember a lot of the time he'd be running around and really busy and back to back, be it with meetings or going to one place to the next, and he'd get intercepted by fans who just want a moment with him, and then he would actually stop that rushing moment and go and speak to the person who wants to just have a quick moment with him or take a photo. I'd be usually taking the photo, or my back would be used to sign something. And I always appreciated how I always had time for everyone, no matter who it was. We'd be running through, and there'd be someone who would either be a cleaner at a company or the boss, and he always had the same amount of time. And I always appreciated how, no matter how big he had gotten in any kind of way, that I was never able to see that with him. He was always just a normal person. I remember when I was very young, there were all these people around my father, and I always just thought he was maybe just a popular kid at school that everyone just kept being close to, and there was never that greater than thou air of grace ever shown. And I think I always appreciated it. I always found out about how great he was through other people, but never ever from him, which was something I always took quite to heart, I think.
So I know that I'm pressed for time, and this is all about you, but when do you realize that you were the son of this great legendary soccer player? And then what does it do to the psyche of a young man?
That's actually a good question. I think I started realizing it as in the shift from it just being dad and a very normal person who maybe I thought just had a lot of friends, to that when people, I think, started coming to me asking for favors or being really unusually nice, or even friends or people wanting to be friends when I didn't know them from a bar of soap, but then seeing what their motives might be down the line, or them asking certain things and then realizing what space this is or what all of this means. And then also, being a big football fan and seeing a lot of it, finally being able to understand watching him play on TV and seeing that he was in this box and then he was also in my house, was when that started started being a very cool thing when I could meet my favorite football stars at the time, and they were playing with my dad, and that was so cool for me too. So I mean, I started playing from when I was around 2 or 3, and you always have had these obviously a bunch of different idols, and to have link them with my father was something that made me then think, oh geez, maybe he's actually just not as normal as I thought he was.
I love it. And family is something that's very important to you, because I often see from, you share on your social media some personal moments with your family. You've been an uncle in recent years,
Yes.
and he's got one of those hearts. He loves babies, and he works a lot with babies. And your mom is someone that's always there, always present.
Yeah, I mean, my mom is, whether I like it or not, my mom will be present. My mom's absolutely amazing. I'm so grateful for the relationship that we have, and we've got some activities that we do together. Most recently,
She whips you in golf.
It's golf, exactly. Most recently, it's golf. She's this dark horse in golf who will just absolutely take care of business, and she will put me in my place. But it's actually so wonderful because we're teammates in a couple like knockout championships and stuff, and it's so beautiful in our bond. But I always say to her, well, I don't always say to her, I remember realizing this at one point and then bringing it up, how the table turns. So my mom's very competitive, and I get that from both of them too, because I'm quite competitive myself. And so when we're playing together, she's always trying to impress me when we're playing against other people. And so if she's not playing well, she'll kind of really just get frustrated with herself.
Aww.
And then I'll say, Mom, don't worry, it's not the end of the world. Take a breath, just remember, it's just a game, have fun, enjoy it. And then I'm just thinking, I'm pretty sure you used to tell me all these things when I was growing up, and now because, you're trying to always assert the fact that you will always be my mother and you can show me one or two things, it's kind of changed a little bit. So it's quite beautiful how we've built that more and more, and we share a lot of special moments, and I love that we try and make as much time as we can.
I love it. It is the voice of Maps Masejo Maponya joining me in studio. He's a creative consultant. He is a voiceover artist, a philanthropist, a businessman, so many things to this young gentleman. And I think that's always the one thing that surprises people. Funny enough, people are always engaging me about Maps. I don't know why. and very few people... And I got to understand this of you when we worked together on Miss SA, that you've got your fingers in so many businesses that are outside of the world that you live in, and people don't get to see that part of you a lot.
Yeah, I think that world, I mean, I think I'm inherently a bit of a nerd, and I'm definitely an entrepreneur at heart. I kind of always like to bring up the story of how my parents have told me that when I was very young, I always liked money, I guess. Always wanted to earn money though, because my parents, whenever I'd want to buy something, they'd say, unfortunately, unless it's with my own money, then they can't buy it. Whatever I wanted, the smallest thing, be it sweets, a packet of chips, said, unless it's my own money, they'll tell me what I can have and what I can't. And all these other things had nothing to do with them. That's kind of how they put it. So then I always just started thinking of ways I could start earning money. And I was 7 years old when I wrote out my first contract that I brought to my parents. And it was literally just like 6 lines. I wish I could find it. But it was six or so lines saying all the chores that I would do, all the things that I would do around the house, plus cleaning the car and all of that. And that, I'd help everything, the dishes, wash, clean the house, and wake up early to do all of that. And they'd have to pay me 2 rand a week. That was the deal. And I started saving money. And I remember after about a year and a half or so, I bought like a little bicycle. And initially, after that first week, I wanted to go buy sweets and things, but my mom said, no, if you keep saving this, then you can buy bigger and better things. And that kind of started this culture and thought in my mind of like, oh, that's how obviously building like a business works, because then you can keep putting more into the business and then building it up. And I always thought I'd love to be a businessman one day and be able to run this the way I want. And so I think from then, I was always just curious about different workings in the world and how I could try and find some sort of solutions to people's issues or inconveniences and help them be conveniences. And I've always been fascinated as a result in trying to start new businesses, invest in other great businesses, and really get out there as much as possible entrepreneurially into the things that really interest me. So across the tech world and across the whole lots of different worlds. I mean, I could go on and
Yeah.
on in different spaces, and I've managed to find that in I did when I was starting off in a kind of tech music app that I had developed with a few people, and went through all of that in a tech tutoring app, and
I remember
and
that.
it called to me, and,
Yes.
and like we built so many different things, and learning to unfortunately let those things fail if they need to, and then having those lean startup models that allow you to start again, and then it crashing again, or being a success, but like learning all the lessons that come with that, and
Yeah.
building on from that, and learning to build a business and sell the business, and I think I'm just always excited by how that's a ever evolving space, and it's amazing how much potential there is out there for entrepreneurship in this country.
And I love that he tells the story, because we have these conversations with parents and financial advisors. Now you get to see the living example of teaching your children about money from as little as 7 years old. Let's take a quick break here, and then we come back and continue our conversation with Maps in the final moments of the Full Circle.
Ford is turning 100, and there's never been a better time to buy a brand new Ford. We're giving away 100 vouchers worth an amazing 50,000 Rand each, and the sensational grand prize of us paying for one lucky winner's Ford. It's the celebration of the century. Visit a Ford dealer, buy a new Ford, and win. T&Cs apply.
Borussia Mönchengladbach knows that only a win will make their plan to get to the top half a success. But VfL Wolfsburg's game plan is to grab victory away from home to cement their top half position.
This is the Bundesliga, football as it's meant to be.
Catch the exciting clash between Borussia Mönchengladbach and VfL Wolfsburg this Friday, 10 November at 9:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com.
Hashtag, we love it here.
Brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
We are literally in the final moments of the show. Full Access always goes by so quickly. We're hanging up with Masejo, a.k.a. Maps Mapunyana. He needs no introduction whatsoever. Such a dynamic young gentleman. And really just with a sound mind and a sound head on his shoulder and a beautiful heart to boot as well. So he's just that full package. We can never say enough about him. But doubling back to the businesses, as we were talking about the businesses before, you actually into something right now. You've partnered up on another tech startup.
So just launched an amazing cool tech startup called Happy Pay, which I know you would have seen on my social media, and that's quite cool as well, because we are essentially a buy now pay later. Not many people know what buy now pay laters or BNPLs. but buy now pay later essentially allows you to buy something online and then be able to pay for it later, and we do so over a couple split payments, and it's interest free. And in a world where we should be a whole lot more concerned with our financial spending and being a whole lot more wise and prudent and knowledgeable on that, you're seeing a lot of millennials and Gen Zs moved slowly more and more to BNPLs more than the traditional credit cards and everything, because there's a lot of traps in those spaces.
Yeah.
And so we kind of see ourselves as a responsible cash flow management tool that then allows people to be able to increase the size of their baskets when they are online buying something, and then be able to then decide, okay, so this is something that I would like to kind of split over a couple payments. I'm not going to use most of my salary on this right now, and then I'd rather use just a little bit and then a little bit later, so over 2-3 salary periods, and then you can manage your money a whole lot more, because right now we're a lot more strapped in that regard, and we also want to still be able to spend on the things that we'd like. But if you can't do so, with a certain amount of money at the end of your salary, and you don't want to be using these other platforms with charge high interest rates or high late fees and everything, we definitely see ourselves as a lot more of an altruistic and more consumer-focused, consumer-friendly platform that then cares about the consumer, and we're able then to teach a consumer a whole lot more around their spending, and we have all the different ways in which we do so. So, if you sign up on happypay.co.za, then you're able to kind of register and have that at your disposal. And we engage thoroughly and do deep kind of, research into each and every one of our potential customers or our actual customers that sign up. And we help you with, bettering your credit score and being able to manage your finances over time. And I think it's a beautiful journey ahead. We've only launched, officially at the start of this month, and we've already got around 20,000 users, and it's amazing.
Wow.
And it's amazing what the landscape looks like and the potential.
What a wowza. Listen, I told you about this young man, and I think, perhaps we bring him on again and we have a more in-depth conversation with Maps. There's so much to him that a lot of people don't know. And before we wrap up the show, I know you just came back from a beautiful endeavor. He's always doing things. You came back from cycling from where to where?
So I came back from cycling from London to Amsterdam. So
how long is that?
550 kilometers. And
not too bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. So,
Manageable.
Manageable. I mean, we did it in 4 days.
Okay.
So first day we cycled around 160 kilometers. The following day 140 kilometers. Then the next day 150 odd. Then around 120. And it was an amazing experience. And we did it all in aid of an amazing organization raising funds for charity. It's called Bridges for Music. They're based out of Cape Town, in Langa.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing institution that basically gives children of Langa the ability to get access to more creative education, access to production, mindful lessons, yoga, as well as counseling and psychology classes and entrepreneurial classes and painting and all sorts of creative ways to be able to keep them off of the streets after school, give them daily meals, give them support, and help them also with scholarships moving forward. And a lot of amazing talents have come from that in the last few years. So it was amazing to be able to support that.
How are your legs?
They're feeling good now. If you asked me that same week, I don't know if I'd even talk to you.
No, listen, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and we have fast run out of time, but he's on Instagram, he's on social, he's everywhere. He's everywhere. He really is. And you can follow his incredible life, particularly if you follow him on Instagram, then you're able to see all the things that matter the most to him. Because I think that's where you share. But you're also just briefly, as much as you share, you're also very conscious of who you are and how you share even on those platforms. I feel like you're those people who have not lost a sense of yourself.
And that's been... Thank you, firstly, because then that tells me something positive, because that's been very intentional. That's always been the main thing to me. And as soon as things are the hype and the way to go and you're seeing everyone kind of change themselves to be able to follow that, then I make sure that I stay as far away as possible from that. And it's important for me to always maintain being true to myself in all my motives and whatever I do, and also keep things as positive as possible. I mean, you might have seen that I'm on Twitter a whole lot less, for example.
Yeah.
And Twitter has essentially become an X of mine. I mean, now it's called X, right? So it's where I keep. Where I share a lot is the positive spaces, and I think in the X space things can be a little bit negative, so there's a whole lot less there.
It's a dog-eat-dog world over there, I tell you. We just keep it for the purposes of being able to still connect with some of our listeners. But that is how we wrap up the show this afternoon. From myself and my team, we thank you so much for always choosing to be in conversation with us. We don't take it lightly. It's an honor and a privilege to bring you the show every single day between 1 and 3 o'clock. We will see you next weekend. Have an incredible weekend further. John is standing by to bring you beyond the headline from us. Inshallah, God willing, we get to do it again.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 106.1 FM in Bombela. Independent and impartial. This is SAFM News.
Thank you, Bridget. In your top stories, Northern Cape ANC lead